Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Germaine Gaspard here with me today. How you doing, Germaine?
Hey, brother, I'm outstanding, man. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Excellent. I love that response to this initial question. Sometimes the way that you describe yourself when someone asks how you're doing, it makes all the difference between me seeing you as mediocre and me seeing you for who you truly are, which is outstanding. I want to say hello to everybody who's coming into the building right now. And if there's a problem with the way that I look or the way that I sound, let me know, because I just got these headphones and I bought a new camera today. Thanks to you guys' donations and your support of the show. Germaine, where are you from?
Man, I'm from all over the world, brother. I started out in New York. I'm currently in Texas, and I came here by way of Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow. Did you grow up in New York?
I spent the first 6-7 years of my life in New York, New Jersey, 110th between 5th and Lenox, Inglewood, Teaneck, bouncing around in those areas. And I went to Georgia, and I came to Texas for the second half of my life.
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with 110th Street?
Well, come on now.
Listen. Let's get into this exchange early. Bobby Womack. He had a song called Across 110th Street.
He did.
And there's been a long running discussion about whether he was talking about 110th Street in Cleveland, Ohio, or 110th Street in Manhattan, Harlem specifically. What's your take?
Well, you know, the Ghetto Boys got a song called The World is a Ghetto. So I think he was talking about both of them at the same time.
Every single 110th Street you could find in America, there's some things going on that you got to look out for.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. No doubt.
What was your life like? What was your life like growing up in New York? And the tone of the show is we're going to slow this down a little bit.
Okay.
There are young people who are growing up. Some of them, many of them, they resemble you. Their life story is going to be similar to yours. And they need to know what your life was like when you were younger so that they can vicariously use your story today to figure out how to grow and prosper into a potentially outstanding person as well. What did your life look like when you were 5 years old?
Wow, 5 years old, I was with my father. My father had divorced at that time. He was a single dad. He was living two different lifestyles, right? He was living one life during the day and another life during the nighttime. And ultimately, those things caught up to him. But initially, at that point in time, he gave me the foundation of what manhood was. He taught me about what integrity, what honor looked like. He also taught me that as a man, it would be impossible for me to be a great man or even a good man if I was harmless. So he made sure that I would never be harmless.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Text somebody, tag somebody, get somebody else into the building, because we're talking to someone whose father told him to stay dangerous. When you were a young man in elementary school with a father who was encouraging you, listen, don't be a goldfish in a shark tank.
No doubt.
How did that manifest in your elementary school career?
Well, again, it was the foundation of later understandings. And what he meant by that was that in order to be a great man, in order to be a good man, you have to be a protector, a provider, a cultivator, a teacher, and you have to always be in God's presence. In order to protect, provide, and cultivate, you have to have the ability and the means to go out and defend what it is you love and you care about. So
that's right.
Understanding that takes away the idea of weakness and precludes the opportunity to be meek, meaning I will be strength under control. That nothing that I care about, nothing that loves me, nothing that is my family ever has to be scared of me, but they will always feel safe with me.
Strength under control.
Yes, sir.
Does that does that entail working out, meditation, reading books, writing books, studying history? What was the regiment through which your father taught you strength under control?
Before he was sick, that regiment was through physical activity. It was learning the tangibles of success. Like, you cannot be successful unless you're willing to fail. You cannot be successful unless you're willing to work and outwork. So those are things that were staple. When he became sick, those things that I had to take those seeds and learn with them and carry them on my own and matriculate and go through my own process to develop those things.
The key to your matriculation was strength under control.
Definitely. Definitely.
I want to make this a victorious moment for everybody who's watching this today, young people clear across America, that strength under control is the missing key between self-preservation, community preservation, family preservation, and toxic masculinity, positivity. Put toxic in front of it when you don't have your strength under control.
Yes. So I would add to that,
Go
there's
ahead.
a difference between being aggressive and being assertive. Okay. So aggression, if I'm matched and I'm going to fight someone, aggression is just swinging wildly, just hoping that I hit or make contact. Right. Being assertive is that I'm going to take my hand and place it on his jaw and I'm going to make him stop doing whatever he's doing to me, because I'm direct and focused with my assertion. As men, we must be assertive. Right. So even the idea, I hear people say toxic masculinity all the time. I don't believe masculinity can be toxic. Like anything else, when it is misused, abused, or mistreated, it becomes abuse. So abuse in and of itself is toxic. So masculinity is the balance for femininity, and we need both in order for it to live on this earth, in order for us to go into the world and make change.
Mm-hmm. So we live in a world, and for those people who don't know, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I spent years in various cities in Ohio, and then I traveled the country a little bit in my short years here in America. And I realized that there is a pattern of males doing their best to be men based off of whatever lessons they were given in life.
Mm-hmm.
And the part of it that they miss is this piece right here, strength under control. And so when you think that a man is someone who always gets his way or takes his way, or that a man is right simply because he's a man, I think you get into you get into an area of error.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to use this conversation as a corrective dialogue for young men out there who really might be trying to get it right.
Yes.
So can you instruct us a little bit on how to balance out, our humanity?
Definitely. So when we're talking about masculinity, a lot of our young men are searching and looking for that component. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to understand what masculinity means, what it means to be a man, and what is the importance of manhood. Right. So as men, we are the progenitors, meaning we project, meaning the seed comes from us. So if we were building a home, if we were building a building, if we were building a castle, the foundation would be manhood. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you build that building on top of that foundation, that's the doors, the walls, the ceilings, the roof, all those different things. Those are always built on top of a solid foundation. The foundation is the most expensive part of a building development,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, the adorning and the adornment, the thing that makes the house pretty, that brings you to his attention, those are things that, again, that sit on the foundation. The family structure, the wife structure, the queens, the descendants. Those are things that sit on top of that foundation. Now, why do we know this is important? How do we know this is important? If you have a crack in the wall, you have a crack in the roof, you have a crack in the door, if the house needs a paint job, all those things can be repaired. But as soon as there's a crack in the foundation, the house must be condemned because it's no longer suit for living. So as men, our role is to be the foundation for our communities. And we do that through, again, being in God's presence, being able to protect, provide, cultivate, and teach. Now, what do these things mean? One, cultivate means to make better. Anything that you come in contact with as a man, you should be able to make it better. Any woman that you come in contact with should be identified as either a mother, a friend, or a lover, regardless of who that woman is. It should be a mother relationship, a sister relationship, or a lover relationship, because all three of those are intimate relationships. And then when you handle people in that manner, or handle women in that manner, you will always handle them with care. Now, again, what does care mean? Care is providing a need before it's needed. Anytime I provide a need before it's needed, I'm showing you that I care for you. That becomes the cultivating aspect of it. Now, provide. There's different ideas and concepts about providing. Money is just one aspect of it. But providing safety, providing accountability, providing security, these are things that when I work with young men and young women, but when I work with youth, period, these are the things that I teach for a young lady to look for in a man, and for a young man to look to be as he becomes a man.
Mm-hmm. For young men who don't have a father, who don't necessarily have the types of conversations that you may have had, but you now provide, what would you say to a young man who's trying to figure out how to become a man? What would be your way of teaching them how to become a provider and how to become a cultivator? What do they do first?
I think that's an amazing question, because I didn't grow up learning these lessons. I got the components of them, but I learned them later. Mm-hmm. I think anytime you seek wisdom, you can find it, right? Okay. And the understanding of fathering. What is fathering? Fathering is to identify those traits that we've already identified. So as a man, every time I come into an environment, anytime I come into an experience, I father that experience. So for young men that don't have those physical fathers that might not be in the household, there are father figures that dwell inside our community, and they come in as coaches, they come as teachers, they come as pastors. There's a wealth of different venues where you can put together and truly understand the reflection of fatherhood and what fatherhood looks like.
That's right. Young men today, the ones I've met, even me myself, some of them, they don't even think about what it means to have a father. Some people, they don't even, it's not a conversation that they have in their lives. And so when you talk about manhood, they believe that they can cut to the chase. Mm-hmm. So in this conversation, talk to us about what it means to father your experiences, because I think that you're onto something. The way that you went directly into manhood, masculinity, asserting yourself effectively into the community, the family, and the foundation of our world, I think is the missing. It's a big piece of the missing
definitely
agenda items going forward.
Definitely.
So I definitely want to keep this pace, and I want to hit the nail on the head in this conversation. Mm-hmm. What does it mean for one to father their experience? Talk to us.
I love that. Again, it's about what are you progenerating? What are you creating? Right. Mm-hmm. The beautiful thing about God is that God has integrity. The word holy means all in one. So when we speak of God, we're speaking of an entity that is always the same, which holds is the highest amount of character and integrity. So how God does the one thing, he does all things. Right. So when I give you a seed, inside of that seed is the genetic coding for an entire forest. All you can see is the seed. And you might not only be able to see a tree, but that tree will bear fruit, which will bear a seed, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What man and what young men hold are the seeds given to them by the Creator. Mm-hmm. So there are both physical seeds and non-physical seeds. So I would ask a young brother, a young man, what are you creating? What are you progenerating? Because you were created in an image of creation. So what are you creating? And then the answer to that would be, you can tell what you're creating by what's around you in your environment. If there's nothing but hell around you, that means you might be creating some parts of that hell. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes we are, right? So it becomes a process of, now we understand that we have the power of creation. Now, how do we do so in a way that creates the end result that we're looking for.
Mhm.
And then that's when the book Warrior Mindset comes in. It comes with the identity that God creates nothing without a purpose.
Okay.
Absolutely, everything has purpose. Trees have purpose. Trees take in carbon dioxide and get back oxygen. Everything has a purpose. So once we figure out what that purpose looks like, everything else comes together and makes sense because we become purpose filled.
That's right. So what you're saying is that we should be creating something.
Yes.
And we're automatically creating something, which is the life that we're living. In fact, we are co-creators of the life that we're living. And so if you look around, whether you've had a father or not, and you realize that you don't think that your life is the best version that it can possibly be, you play a role in that.
Mhm.
So there's accountability. But what you've got to do is you've got to start creating something. Whether you're just creating a better life, creating a better set of habits, creating a new, regiment. Once you start creating, your purpose will shine through that which you're creating. Is that what you're also saying?
It is. It is. When I ask and when I'm building, and I ask someone what their purpose is, oftentimes they don't have a clue because they never thought about it. So generally, the next question is, if you had all the resources to your disposal, living, eating, drinking was not an issue, what would you do for the rest of your life just because you enjoy that thing?
Right.
Once we answer that question, we can start heading toward the direction of purpose, because everyone that is successful, all successful people, when I say successful, I don't mean they make a lot of money. Successful meaning they feel fulfilled, they impacted the world, and they are wealthy and lucrative. Those
Let me shake the room up a little bit, right? When we talk about apex masculinity and the epitome of manhood, I think we are talking about success in terms of finances as well. I think we are also we're talking about, if you're going out there, you're doing it right, you're creating, you're finding purpose through that creation, that you should reap a value for it. So,
without a doubt.
there are definitely righteous men out here in the world who don't have a lot of finances, but we are talking about the possibility that you should be obtaining some level of finances if you're being a righteous man.
Correct. And I identified it as wealth, because
Okay, exactly.
finances speaks to money, but wealth comes in intangible as well as tangible objects, right?
Yeah.
So if I buy 100 acres,
Mhm.
then I definitely have wealth in that 100 acres that turns into finance. And
That's right.
again, as we create, we're supposed to become more fruitful through our creations. It's a
That's
part
right.
of the process. So
Mhm.
definitely, the people say the root of evil is money. No, the root of evil is desiring money above all things. So the
Okay.
first thing you have to desire to do is to be impactful and to add value. Once you add value, people will seek you out.
Mhm. So what I'm trying to get people to see today, whether it be today or in retrospect, is that once you get your manhood correct or your womanhood correct, that there is going to be some value for you in that.
Mhm.
If you let's say right now, if you don't have $1 in your pocket, if you begin to create the life that you want and your purpose comes through that process of you creating the life that you want, there won't always be nothing but lint in your pockets.
Mhm.
And this is what I want people to understand today, is in a conversation like this about how to be an effective man, the result of it is that you're going to have an increase in all areas of your life, and we're not leaving your bank account out of it.
Correct.
Guess what? We can take things straight ahead on and say your finances are going to increase, your spiritual sense is going to increase, your physicality is going to increase, your productivity is going to increase. I'm not leaving money out of it when I talk about being an effective man. Now, what role does listening to your heart play into being an effective man?
Wow. Oh, so you cut into the chase. I see you trying to get all the way in. Well,
Indeed.
let's do it. Let's start with the word, right? To
Okay.
be inspired translates to mean to be in spirit.
Okay.
So listening, we have to understand that in the process of our creation, our brain is the last thing that is developed. First is the gut, then it's the heart, then lastly is the brain. Inside of our gut is where we attain our intuition. From our heart is where we receive our connection. From our brain is where we receive the logic to understand and depict, break down information and facts.
That's
Oftentimes, we're so busy looking at the facts that we can't get the understanding. It doesn't say in all things get facts. It says in all things get understanding. And the only way to get an understanding is through a connection. So if I'm looking at you and I'm arbitrarily thinking, is he smart? Is he smart enough for me to even listen to? Is what he's saying have any factuality to it? If I'm focused on the facts, I can't get to connect. If I can't get to connect, I can't get the product. Someone know about that. I don't know. Someone might know about that.
Listen, I know all about it. And I love the frame of this conversation right here, because what you're saying is men listen to their gut.
Yeah.
Being a man is not always about saying, hey, based on the facts, this is how this is going to go. It's also a major component of being able to listen to your gut. What's going to make you different from all the other so-called men out there is your ability to listen to your gut. Your gut talks to your heart. Your heart talks to your brain. And now your vision is correct. Your perspective of the world and the role you play in it is correct.
Yes.
And what we don't want is strong men out there whose vision or perception of the world is off key or off balance. So let's hone in on this here.
I think you make a real good point, because you use the word vision, right?
That's right.
The issue is oftentimes we operate on sight and not vision. Our brains are amazing about sight, meaning what I see, touch, feel, can taste. But vision is purpose in pictures. So in order to have true vision, I have to believe something that's not there. So if all my decisions are based on what I can see, touch, and feel, I'm limited, because all I can do is live in the physical.
Hold up. Ladies and gentlemen, are y'all telling me that we don't have Germaine Gaspard on the show today, and that we shouldn't get somebody else into the building to be a part of this conversation today? Because this man is dropping jewels, and we're connecting dots in a way to help out the entire community. Now, what role does when we talk about listening to your gut, right? I'm thinking about diet. I'm thinking about literally how many sit-ups can you do? You're the type of man that we should all listen to, but the last time you did sit-ups, you don't even remember. How far do we take this aspect right here of listening to the gut? How far does it go?
That's the same question as how far do we take listening to the spirit?
Okay.
Okay. Now, again, I'm going to use a biblical context. If you look biblically, God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit were never on earth all at the same time.
Okay.
Had they been, they would have canceled each other out. So first was God, then he allowed Jesus to come. And after Jesus came, he allowed for the Holy Spirit to be the messenger. The messenger is the messages that we receive from the Creator, from creation. As men, we have to be tied to our spirits so that we can stay in the presence of wisdom. Without that, we go on our own accord. So I can read something 10 times and have 10 different understandings that are all true, because the spirit in the moment that I read it led me to where I needed to be for the understanding that I needed in that moment.
Absolutely.
So as men, we have to tie ourselves to principles. After we tie ourselves to principles, we have to marry and seek wisdom. And in that, we will get the understanding in order to move forward and be tied to our guts and to our spiritual man.
I think it's very profound that you say, listen, religion isn't corny. Listening to your heart, listening to your gut, that's not corny. Having intuition is not corny. In fact, the way for you to be an effective man is to be spiritual. Before we go to the break, Germaine, what is your favorite scripture?
Wow. and he would make them in our image.
Okay. We are in the image of what some people might say is the Most High. We are in the image of a higher council.
Mm-hmm.
And
without a doubt. And that's why it's my favorite, because when you understand that your birthright is creation. Right? Okay. So I don't believe God creates. I believe God is creation. Right? So there's a difference between creating and making. What makes God God is he took nothing from nothing and made something. As his children, we have to take the pieces that he has given us to create. So we don't create, we make.
So if God took nothing from nothing and made something, then as above, so below, we are to take that which is in our life and make it into something as well.
Without a doubt.
I'm extremely encouraged by that. Now, as you graduated from high school, what did you intend to do with your life?
All I want to do is play football. I graduated from high school. I received a football scholarship. I played football. I didn't have any rhyme or reason. I knew that I enjoyed football. And at that point, I didn't even know what it was that I enjoyed about it. What I enjoyed about it was the intimacy and speaking back and keeping connecting with manhood. What we don't teach our boys and what we don't understand about our men is that men need intimacy as much or more than women.
Break that down. Okay. Break it down. Clear it up.
Okay, so the reason why men participate in group activities, group sports, is because when I'm playing football, the 10 guys on the field with me, we've been through 2-a-days together. We've been through early meetings together. We've been through study hall together. We did things that we had no business doing together because we have this cohesion together. So now when I'm on that field and it's us 11 against your 11, that's an intimate moment. The reason why I thrived in the special operations community is because I was with a band of brothers that bonded together. And there's nothing more intimate than a person putting themselves in harm's way for another person. That's the idea of caring, right? So as men, we look for these intimate moments. Oftentimes the issue is we don't know how to communicate. The reason why you see men that are very high and successful, whether they be in athletics, in the special operations team, things of that nature, is because they're looking for that same level of intimacy in a female partner and oftentimes can't find it or even can't communicate it because they don't know what they need.
This is powerful right here. We have an opportunity in life to give something 100%. What Germaine is raising awareness about today is the fact that it's a lot of us who actually want to give 120%. You want to give 150%. And in order for you to put in that extra percentage beyond 100, it helps tremendously if you have somebody next to you who's pursuing the same goal. The Bible also says where 2 or more gather, so shall he, so shall it. That's where that 120% comes in at. They say, oh, I have fangs. I'm a lion. I'm a wolf. I'm not the same as everybody else. I'm not built like everybody else. I'm not cut like everybody else. That additional cut comes when you have the group economics, family economics, community economics, national economics, global economics. Ladies and gentlemen, we are having a great conversation today with Germaine Gaspard. We're going to do more of that. You guys sit tight. We'll be right back. America's Next Motivator. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator. Hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back. Germaine, how you feeling out there?
Man, I'm outstanding, bro. I can't lose what I use.
What do you use? What were you using when you left high school? Let's talk about that.
Man, I was using my purpose even when I didn't know it. I was always being crafted and molded. Through my process, I thought I was doing the thing, but it was always the thing to take me to the next thing, to elevate me to where I needed to be and where I am now.
Okay. How did you portion out, your reality? I think that sometimes we get into stuff like football. Some of us wrestle, some of us run track.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes so much of your identity is that activity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a wrestler and a track guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a football guy and a wrestling guy.
Mm-hmm.
How much of your identity was football, and how did that change as you got older?
Well, first, I think we have to define what education is, right?
Wow.
Education is anything that we learn that we can use to obtain our visions and our dreams without purposely harming other people. So football, all extracurricular activities, period, are all forms of education. Actually, that's why we first allowed our kids to start playing sports in high school. It is now morphed to the idea of going to the professional leagues, getting paid, being a millionaire. But the truest form of athletics is to teach those intangibles. So what I did was, from playing football, I played football, I wrestled, I ran track. I was continuously engaged. All those lessons and time spent working when no one else was working, wherewithal, being a good teammate, following instructions, being able to be disciplined by other men and women, being able to be told what to do, being able to be criticized. All of those were things that I learned on that trestle board, in that training ground, that allowed me to do what I'm doing now and what I will be doing in the future.
Absolutely. Can you talk to us about how to deal with constructive criticism? How to deal with feedback that you might not want to hear? How do we deal with that?
Definitely. Always consider the source. Right. First and foremost, if you don't know where you're going, anyone can take you anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So at an early date, when you asked me about my football career, early on, middle school, I decided I was going to get a football scholarship. It was going to happen. That's it. That's all. So everything I did was based and predicated on the goal that I set. They didn't have to tell me not to smoke weed. They didn't have to tell me not to drink. They didn't have to tell me not to do certain things, because I couldn't do those things and make it to my goal. So we need to set these exponential, these larger than life goals, and then live a life that would allow us to make those goals a reality. So by doing that, then I started crafting myself, and I became disciplined. And all discipline is being a disciple to something bigger than yourself. So for me, at that point in time, my goal was obtaining that scholarship. That was bigger than me. So my discipline came in line to me being a disciple, to learning what it needed to be done in order to make that a reality. So now, if your goal is to be a CEO, if your goal is to be a manager, if your goal is to promote to a certain position, at that point in time, you have to be a disciple to everything it takes to prepare you to go to where you're going. That way, when people are critiquing you, you'll know if it adds value or if it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, after high school, what was next for you? What did you do after high school?
After high school, I went to college, where I played football for 4 years. I took an injury my junior year. My last year, came back as a defensive MVP, and I had a very successful year. After that, I matriculated, went to different combines, attempted to go to the pros, tried out for some arena ball teams, actually signed some contracts, but it didn't happen. And I was frustrated at the time, but it didn't happen because that wasn't where I was supposed to be. I eventually became employed by the Texas Department of Public Safety, became a state trooper. Within that, I did investigative work. I worked within the Texas Ranger Special Operations Units. and did some other things as well within inside the department. That was my trek to understanding what that warrior mindset was. That was my trek to understanding why I had been through all that I had been through and was still going through, so I can learn and teach what it is that I teach now.
For those young people out there today who would like to transition into professional sports, I understand that there are some things that they just don't know that they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any tips that you could give to young men or young women who want to become professional athletes at the highest levels that maybe you wish you had known?
Wow. One, understand that it's a business.
Okay.
We see it as a game, but the people involved see it as a business. Anytime business is involved, politics are involved as well.
So how does handling your business look when you're trying to get to the professional leagues? Like, I hear you. They see it as a business. So does that mean that you should be doing volunteer hours on the side? Should you be tracking your progress in different areas? Like, how do you handle your business as an amateur athlete to gain an advantage when it comes time to transition into a professional athlete?
I love that. So one is, again, identifying what it is that you want to be, finding examples of that, and learning from those examples. I'll give you an example. So I'm an assistant head coach to a track club called Track Dynamite. Within the last 3 years, we've won 4 Junior Olympic National Championships. We have been very successful. The last 10 years, every senior on our team has gone to college and graduated from college. Right? How did we do that? We did that by teaching, one, the intangibles, but two, by also, before they show up to college, making them understand that these are the expectations. And we expect more than average. So now our conversation is, hey, we haven't dropped the ball in 10 years. Are you going to be the first one to do it? Are you going to be the one where we have 99% success rate? Are you going to be that 1%? Because growing up, when we came from more humble beginnings, we were told that your last name didn't belong to you until you earned it. And it wasn't an entitlement. It was that every day I have to earn this last name that was given to me.
Who told you that?
Wow. My grandparents.
Wow. Your grandparents told you that your last name does not belong to you until you work for it.
Correct. That last name belongs to me. I just gave it to you. It's on loan until you earn it.
Mm-hmm. I have to redirect that to the community out there. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got to do work to earn our last name. That's powerful. That's an example of something that everybody doesn't hear. And it's definitely an example of something that everybody does not live by. But it's definitely something that contributes to the gap between the achievers and the non-achievers. You know, you have people who they live for their first name or their so-called reputation, and they lose out. They lose out because sometimes the person next to you is working for their last name. They're working for legacy. They're working for the bigger picture.
Yep.
Now, what would you say is your legacy today?
My purpose. I've identified my purpose as the creation of transformational leaders, champions, and superheroes. And in order for me to create those, I have to be that. So a transformational leader goes into a chaotic or toxic situations and makes it clean and whole. A superhero utilizes their gifts through love to help. A champion puts themselves in harm's way for others. And the word champion came from in biblical and pre-biblical times when two communities or tribes were going to war against each other. Had they fought, the casualties to the men would have crippled even the winning side. So they would choose a man amongst the tribe to be our champion, meaning if we win or lose, it would be based on you giving your life and staying in harm's way to protect us. Those are the 3 individuals that I build, and I build them in different arenas. Some are executive through executive coaching. Some are athletes. Some are persons that have a dream and a desire to create something, and they're looking for some kind of streamlining and coaching to that to resolve.
Is it your responsibility to make our world a better place? Are you taking on that mantle?
Wow. The word responsibility, responding with my ability. I believe in that. And everything that I do, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to gripe. I'm going to respond. I'm going to respond with my ability. I believe that I was given dominion over this earth. Now, there's a difference between the earth and the world. Those two different understandings. If you look at that, the Hebrew context or meaning, the earth is the green grass that we walk on, right?
Mhm.
That's not going. The world are the governing systems that predicate what happens to the earth. So I was charged, and we were charged to go to all of the world, all of to the governing bodies and systems that have an effect on the earth. And through my dominion, I do that. Now, again, I think when we talking about toxicity and abuse, what happens is when we start trying to dominate people instead of areas of gifting, then we abuse situations. So now that understanding, I'm not going in an environment trying to tell people what to do. I'm going into environments offering my gifting to add value everywhere I go. It's a different thought
Absolutely.
process.
That's right. You got people out here who are, spending $20 a day on the Powerball. What would you do? Because we're all looking for a few things in life. We're looking for leadership. We say there was Malcolm, there was Martin. Today we have who? It's looking like we got Germaine Gaspard.
Hey man, I received that.
Outside of that, we say, hey, grandma and grandpa, they figured out how to make $1 million. Where's mine?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're looking for value, and we're looking for things to do with that value.
Mm-hmm.
If you had $10 million today, what would you do with it?
I would seek wise counsel.
Okay, that's
See,
first.
it's first things first, right? I have 1,000 different things that go through my mind, the things that can be done. However, as we talked about before, being in wise counsel, in looking for understanding in everything that we do must come first. So first I would hit my knees, then I would seek wise counsel, and then I would create a plan. I wouldn't do anything without creating a plan first with that money. Then once I created a plan, I would live the plan.
Okay. Okay. What are some of the things that you are providing to the world today? What have you created?
Outstanding. So as you know, I did the TED Talk. I wrote the book Warrior Mindset, and I utilized those tools in creating community.
Hold up. Two huge things. You said them real quick, but they were huge. Explain that. What was it like doing a TED Talk? What was that like?
Wow. There were over 2,000-3,000 people auditioned, and they picked, and 12 were picked, and I was happened to be one of the 12 that was picked. Giving that TED Talk really was transformational for me because I needed some coaching walking into it. To be quite honest with you, my audition was horrible. I walked in and I stated facts and ideas and different things, and I was put this. I say, it's evident that you're smart. It's evident that you're smart. But what were you saying? Then I had to go back and revitalize what I did. And during that process, I learned that when you speak from your mind, you get people's mind. When you speak from the heart, you attract people's hearts. When you speak from your spirit, you attract spirit. So I had to go and rework my TED Talk and speak from my heart and my spirit. And the result was amazing. One, it
Wow.
allowed other people to connect with me. Two, it allowed me to cure some of those generational curses and woes because now I exposed them to the light.
Wow. I feel everybody needs to do what you did. If they haven't already. They need to make the transition from, speaking, just trying to be factual, to being able to speak with their soul.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you must have had to do something new. How did you get into that particular modality?
Man, it wasn't me. All right, I've had favor in my life for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing was because I was open to being coached, I could receive the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So when I sat back and thought about, well, okay, what is it? Because the question was, what is your life's work? What do you want to be known for? What is it that you know better than anyone else? And it resonated with me. I know me better than anyone else. So during that process, okay, I know that I have a purpose. What is my purpose? My purpose, again, as we talked about, transformational leaders, champions, superheroes. What does that look like in a composite? How did my life speak to that? What did you go through in your life that allowed you to come out on the other end as you are? So then I systematically start talking about, okay, hey, father was addicted to drugs, alcohol, and women. As a young man, I was alone for long periods of time, abandoned for long periods of time. Went in and out of some state homes, had to go in there and fight for my cereal. All these different processes that I went through, seeing the Klan burn crosses in your front yard, all these different processes that I went through allowed me to come out and be the person that I am today, because I understand. And at the end, I understood I'm not what I am in spite of what I went through. I am what I am because of what I went through.
This right here is phenomenal. This is a moment right here where you connect with so many thousands of people, because we're going through things out here in the world. You got people growing up in foster care. You got people living through abuse, neglect, dependency, just like you did. And when you go through those types of things, you just give way to your soul speaking. Your soul starts talking. Your soul starts saying, we've been going through these adversities for a long time now. It's time for life to change. It's time for us to create a new life. It's time for us to create a new world. My soul is getting louder and louder and louder. It's hard for me to be as correct as people would like to see me be, because my soul is saying something different. And what I'm hearing from you is that when your soul starts speaking, that's when you get such a deeper connection with people. So be encouraged, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going through a life that's got your soul talking, the elevation to the highest achievements in the world is yours. Your soul's already talking. People have to go out there and figure out how to get their soul to talk. You got a lot of people out there, their mouth is running, but their soul is not saying anything. Their brain is communicating, but their soul is not saying anything. And what Germaine is letting us know today with his life is that when your soul is speaking, you have access to the highest levels of achievement. We have a comment in the building. Valerie Jenkins says, we are designed to create. Now, Germaine, you also wrote a book. What was the name of that book and what was it about?
The book, actually, the hat I was wearing, Warrior Mindset, How to Achieve Extraordinary Results.
Nice.
Warrior Mindset, How to Achieve Extraordinary Results.
Warrior Mindset.
Yes. And the story in the book is about living life on these warrior principles and understanding that we all are warriors. Oftentimes, we think of a warrior as someone that's in physical combat. All wars, all engagements start first in the mind, in the non-physical, and then work their way into a physical manifestation. Meaning, I'm fighting to make ends meet. I'm fighting to pay this bill. I'm fighting to get to this next, whatever I'm fighting to do. It takes a warrior mindset to achieve those things. Everyone that is successful in life understands that they will be knocked down, but the process of learning how to get back up makes you stronger. When we're lifting weights, all we're doing is tearing the muscles down. We lift weights, tear the muscles down, they come back stronger, we lift more weights. That's the process. Also, what the book describes is the seeding principle. When I get a seed, if I leave it on a kitchen or bathroom tile floor, that seed will be there indefinitely. But as soon as I put that seed in the right environment of darkness, see, there's not much difference between being planted and being buried. They feel the same. The determination, if you're being planted or being buried, is what you do next. Putting that seed, covering it, putting it in darkness, allowing pressure to push onto it until it breaks and the roots settle and it begins the process of life. When you talked about earlier, people and me being in those dark spaces, understand burglars don't break into empty houses. Robbers don't rob bag ladies. the enemy that's coming against you has to come with you with the same intensity that your purpose has in your life. Now, you are the common denominator to decide whether I'm going to let my purpose go to waste or I'm going to allow my purpose to excel. The richest place in the world has nothing to do with a diamond mine or gold mine. The richest place in the world is right around the corner from your house. It's a graveyard, because that's where dreams go to die.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
I take a lot. I take a lot out of the things that you're saying today. When you say that you're going through a lot, you're like a seed whose response to going through a lot should be the fruit that you bear.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tree out there called the baobab tree, and you spell it B-A-O. How you spell it? B-A-O-B-O-B or B-A-O-B-A-B. But see, this is why we're a community here, so you can come back tomorrow and provide the spelling. But the baobab tree, you find it in Africa, you find it in different rich places in the world. What if you're a baobab tree, one of the biggest trees in the whole wide world, and you're under pressure? You're living in a space where you feel like the odds are stacked against you. What Germaine is saying is that it's for a reason. It's because you're supposed to take all of those adversities, learn from them, and then provide fruit out of them. Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. What would you say has been your best success so far in your career?
Wow, I don't think I have the answer to that question. What would be my best? My best success would be being a father. Mm-hmm. That's what it'd be. Being a father to my children and purposefully being a good father. That would be my best success.
What is survival to you?
Wow. Surviving and thriving are two different things.
Okay.
Surviving is just making it through and getting to the next stage. Thriving is learning through the process and elevating so that level of the game doesn't hurt you anymore. One of the issues that we see is when we're in survival mode, we're just consistently making it, and we're not growing. The difference between surviving and thriving, and it's actually one of the things that I talk about in the book, is it's not any more dangerous to cross the street right now as adults as it was for us to do it when we were 2 or 3 years old.
Wow.
It's not, statistically, it's not more dangerous. The only thing that happened differently is we learned and understand how to do it without being harmed or hurt. So every time we come into a situation, when we're surviving, we're not learning how to solve that problem. So now it's not an issue. I can ask you what 2 + 2 is, Cedric, and you'd be like, man, why you ask me that? 4, 4, 4 all day. And it's not a problem for you. Now, if I ask you that when you were 1, 2, or 3, it might take you a minute. So now we take for granted that those problems are no longer problems because we learn how to answer them. So for me, surviving is answering a problem is just by getting through it. Thriving is answering the problem, understanding the answer. Now that is not longer a problem in my life anymore.
What is success to you?
Fulfillment. Success, I think it's impossible to be successful without being fulfilled. You have, how many times do we see people that have all the assets in the world, but then they're harmed and hurt themselves, or they're unhappy or depressed because they're not fulfilled? Success to me is being fulfilled in the wealth that comes with fulfillment.
Do our relationships play a role in our sense of fulfillment?
Without a doubt. Because what is a relationship? A relationship is a relation, something that we relate to. So if you continue to relate to toxic situations, your life is toxic because that's your relationship with yourself. Mm-hmm. So our relationships determine, if you show me what 5 people you hang around the most, I can tell you who you are, because you're going to be the average of those 5. So the relationship that we entertain the most dictate who we are, what we're going to become.
What is greatness to you?
Fulfill purpose. Greatness to me is dying empty. I don't want to leave anything on the floor. I want to put it all out on the floor. I don't want to leave anything in. When I'm gone, I want it to be, I did that. And I'm in.
I don't think that you left anything off of the table today. I feel that you put it all on the line. I feel you left it all out there. You came to let the world know who you were today. And
Okay.
I encourage people to go out there and discover your movement, join it, and put respect on your legacy. We're giving you respect today. We're giving you your respect today. Absolutely. While you're still alive to receive it. And we're giving you your crown today while you're still alive to receive it. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the chat. Get your crown emojis ready. We are letting you know, Germaine Gaspard, that you are. Oh, we got crowns coming into the building.
Come on now.
Let's get the crowns into the building, ladies and gentlemen. There go more crowns for you. We are letting you know, more crowns for you. Letting the world know that you, Germaine Gaspard, are America's next motivator.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to start there. We're going to end because motivation gets you going. But I want you to keep going when you don't feel like no more. So we're going to start with the motivation, and we're going to go all the way to the end.
Ladies and gentlemen, Germaine Gaspard, thanks for stopping by today, all right?
All right, brother. You take care, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you've got to do is stop by and pick it up.